Real Country 550 and 92.9 WAME Statesville.
Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm.
If you don't know our host, David Hamm, he's a 25-year NASCAR veteran, engine builder, and jackman.
Live every Monday evening, we have a new guest
From the racing world with their stories, their paths,
their racing roots.
Now here's our host, David Hamm.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm. This evening, we got our good friend, Terry Anderson. Actually, you're a good friend. Finally, I actually just met you tonight.
Exactly.
But we ran into you before, like at Mount Airy at the Moonshiners and Racers reunion and such. Actually, Tracy ran into you, and she got your number.
Yeah.
So we were glad to have you come on the show and join us.
I appreciate the opportunity.
We absolutely appreciate you coming.
Well,
Yes, so we're going to, and I also got Bryson to my left. I'll have to turn this Bryson cam. Let's see. I think Bryson. Oh, okay.
okay.
Well, somebody's for that.
Somebody throw
Bryson
a
broke it.
somebody
go.
throw a caution out there.
Hey, Bryson.
They don't want to see me. It's okay.
You did say you were tired tonight.
I am. Yeah. I'm wore out today. It's been one heck of a Monday. We'll call it that. Yeah.
I feel
It worked
your
out so
pain.
good. My little tripod didn't.
Your tripod didn't survive.
Yeah.
Well,
That's funny. I'm watching the replay and it falls right out of my hand. Okay, what a way to start the show, man. All right, so
difficulties.
You're
Yeah.
starting it with me too, so I don't know.
yeah, so if you don't know Terry Anderson, he's a crew member turned race official. So that makes him what does that make you?
I can't say that on air.
Okay, some people
A
are probably
double threat.
Yeah, double threat. Well, it's still
yeah.
better than we had. Who was we had on a few weeks ago? Tommy Chapman, who was Tommy Chapman. He was
Yes.
an agent, and so he busted over 600 moonshine stills.
Right.
So I mean, I'd say you're not like at that.
Well, no, I worked in law enforcement for about 28 or 30 years with the state, with the Department of Corrections. So,
Okay, so maybe you are.
in a hometown police department. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that can get a little touchy when you start
All right.
with the illegal alcohol, which
But you know what, too? That means you got experience with rules.
exactly.
So it puts you in a
Exactly.
charge into a position of keeping up with the rules and stuff as an official.
Exactly. I was a sergeant with the department, so
Okay.
I had like 15 officers that worked under me, and it was about like herding cats, about like it is at a racetrack. So things changed a whole lot for me because I went from competitor to the villain on the other side of the
Right.
wall, so to speak. But it's been a fun ride. It's started early and ended early, and then it started back up, and then it's led to where I'm at today. So,
All right.
not an interesting character, but
Led you here.
exactly,
Tonight.
it led me to be on YouTube and
Yeah.
Oh.
the radio and
Radio, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, and
Tumblr.
Facebook.
well, I'm telling you what,
too.
Are you
maybe.
on Tumblr?
I don't know. So all loose.
You're all over the place.
I'm all over the place.
Better not be a wanted man.
And
Because we'll find you.
one ex-wife has passed, and the other one, she done got everything. I think I'm in the clear.
Yeah, you're in the clear. All right. Very good.
Oh, me.
So I'll turn the show over to you, and we'll be back here in a little bit. I'll come back and see you. I'll fix this camera. No, I'm kidding. So you were on the Cecil Gordon's team from 73 to 76.
Yes, I was very fortunate enough to be able to work as a walk-on from 1973 till 1976, and it was a deal that I was still in high school, and so I could only go to the closest races, which was Charlotte, and I don't think I missed a Charlotte race. And of course, Wilkesboro, that's not but like 28 to 30 miles from Lenore. So I think I missed like 2 or 3 races there. And the story about that, I started racing in probably 1972. The gentleman that lived below me down there, his name was Ernie Klein, and he had a brother named, Larry Klein, and his brother Ernie, and they had bought a race car. And Benny Parsons had run it in the Dogwood 500, when they split the modifieds with the late model Sportsman at Martinsville. And he had driven a car there, and it was number 6. And I always wondered if it wasn't one of Mason Day's car, and I still would like to find that out. But when Ernie bought it, and I guess Larry too, the sponsor on it was Jim Pennick's Mobile Homes. And so when Ernie bought the car, Jim Pennick stayed on till the following end of the season, which was been 73. So I knew the boys, and I just walked down to the shop one day. It was about, I don't know, maybe not quite a half a mile from the house. And I walked up to him and I asked him, I said, I love racing. I said, would there be any chance that I'd get to help you on your car? So that's basically about side of my dad taking me to Metrolina and old Concord Speedway. We done Metrolina on Friday, Concord on Saturday, and we done Carolina Speedway down at Gastonia on Sunday. So I've got to see some of the heroes: Speedy Thompson, Stick Elliott, Ralph Earnhardt. I could go on Carl Smart, and Dad and my mom, and of course Carl's wife at the time. They were good friends, and their son Steve runs now at Tri-County Speedway, and Steve and my brother Kirby, they kind of grew up together at the racetrack. So I asked him the first time he came to the racetrack, I said, Steve, I said, when you were growing up and little, I said, did they call you Tinker? And he said, yes. And I said, I'm a dadgum. I said, my mother, I called my mom and dad Jack, and my mother's name was Boots. I said, do you remember them? He said, yes. I said, I still got the Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy doll that your mama gave me one year for Christmas, I think it was. So that kind of brought a lot of memories back in when we got to talking. But that's basically how it got started. My dad, of course, we went to Charlotte every time, for pole day. I was very fortunate to be around, see the Talladegas and the wing cars and the stuff that in my era means a lot. And it means a lot to me because this present day racing outfit out of Daytona does not recognize the people that actually got it started. When I got started with Ernie, I met Cecil Gordon at Hickory, him and Mike Hill, and he was crew chief at the time, and Richard Childress and Tim Brewer had came to Hickory to drive some late model races, because at that time they run the World Service Life 300 at Charlotte on Saturday. So in order for a late model sportsman entry from a Grand National driver, they had to run X amount of late model sportsmen. So Cecil drove our car, golly Pete, that's been a long time ago, maybe 3 or 4 races when he could, to qualify for the October race for the late model cars. So that's basically, I just asked him one day, Cecil, if you ever need any help, just like I walked in the garage down there at 14 years old, can I come and help? So I guess about 3 races into the deal, when he was driving our late model car, he said, would you like to come to Charlotte? Well, that's about like asking a starving dog if he'd like to have a T-bone steak,
Sure.
So I took advantage of that, and like I say, very fortunate, just to be blessed in the right place at the right time. You know how it is yourself. Out of face, out of mind, so to say, or out of play. If you're not there, and you go away, and you only come back, you're just out of mind. Nobody remembers who you are, and and that's me. I done it because I loved it. I done it because I asked, and Cecil let me. It's just being at the right place at the right time.
So you said Mike Hill was your crew chief?
Yeah, Mike Hill was the crew chief at that time for Cecil.
He's been here. He's been on the show a few times.
Has he really? Yeah. I finally got to talk to him up at Mount Airy. That's the first time Matter of fact, he didn't remember me, and I had talked to him, and he said, "Well, I don't remember you at all. I remember all the crew members myself." And he said, "Well, said I remember now that we did have a lot of walk-ins, and that's the way it was done back then. A lot of the independent drivers, they didn't have teams. They had to go to the infield and pick people out, So that was where I was fortunate, I guess, I don't, it's not a thing if people remember me. It's not a thing. I'm nobody but just a common country boy that got to come from a blinking light town to finally we got a stoplight and do something that I never ever thought I'd ever be able to do. I remember, I think it was the World 674 maybe. First year that Petty got the electric trailer and the tractor, he was probably one of the first ones into that era that got a tractor and trailer. It was all electric. You just hooked the cables up and it pulled it up in the trailer, all this good stuff. And of course they still had the Dodge, the LVT 1000 cabs that they'd got from Dodge, and it was used as a tractor. But anyway, they talked me into going into Richard's trailer and get him a Pepsi. Well, at that time, Pepsi sponsored Richard. Well, in that trailer, got it picked. There's an ice box in there about as wide as this counter, maybe. It was deep enough or wide enough that you still could get the race car in. So I was very, very hesitant to do this. My mom always told me, she said, don't you ever go in there where you're not invited, or don't you invite yourself in nowhere. Well, they prodded me into doing it. So I walked in and got Pepsis or whatever, I can't remember now, but Pepsis. And I started to close that lid. The light kind of got dim from the back of the trailer. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. People can say what they want to say. But I turn around and look, and there's a silhouette like you always see from Randleman, North Carolina. And he said, "Boy, what you doing stealing my Pepsis?"
Oh, no.
So they had set him up, or set me up for him to do that. Yeah. And I have never been so scared in my life. I was really afraid that I'd made the king mad. Right. But, it's just been a thing that I remember the first time a lady asked me to autograph a card, I was embarrassed. I don't know. My mother always told me, "Son, don't never get above your raising." And I don't think it was getting above my raising. It was the fact that I'm not that kind of person. It's I'd give you the shirt off my back if I knew that you needed it. And that's the kind of fellow I was. And even as a young man growing up, I knew that if I didn't do what I was supposed to do, there's going to be a hickory tucked to my legs. And that's the way we were brought up. My dad was a truck driver. My family was in the trucking business. People say, "Why didn't you get into the trucking business?" Well, I've been in and out of it, but I don't know. I've always loved racing. Never got to do it full time like, of course, like you have, David. But, I guess it just wasn't meant to be. I just was supposed to do what the good Lord had planned out for me to do. And, I took it for that. But I was very fortunate to be able to go, like I say, started at 14, and the next year, the full season at Hickory, then I got to be a crew member. I remember Boy Leonard Dakar, we had to go to 61 because there was already a 6 car at Hickory, and I can't remember now who the driver was, but like I say, it's been a couple years back. But we had to take duct tape and put a 1 so we'd have the 61 car. So the boy lettered the 61 on the car, and on the hood he put the cartoon character Henry. Now, I don't know if y'all remember the cartoon character Henry in the comic strip, but he's a little bald-headed boy, wore shorts and a T-shirt. And he painted it. I was carrying a big old bucket, and it was sloshing out, and he put over the top of it, "Gas Boy Anderson." So that was my claim to fame as far as anything on a race car. But it's just a very humbling experience to be known or having someone to put you out there that just done it as a part-time thing or a thing because I was in the right spot at the right time. And being a kid, it's a lot different now than it was back then because I'll be 66 years old in December. So a lot of things has changed. Even in your time, it's changed a bunch. So I don't know. It's just a humbling experience to be put. Bill Blair, I got to plug my buddy Bill and his White Lightning, Blair's last run.
That's right.
And it's available if you go to your ABC store and ask them to order it. They'll even put it in their stores. My understanding, I think Blair's last run is 66-742 is the SKU number. Yeah. So Bill, you owe me now. It's always I mess with him. It always costs me money, but
it's at Southern Distilling up here too. In
yes,
Statesville.
sir. So that's exactly. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Maybe I'll get my just rewards from Bill now. But anyway, he and Gene Hobby, the late Gene Hobby, I met Gene at a model car swap meet in Salisbury, North Carolina, and we got to talking, and Gene was one of the most likable fellas that you'll ever meet. He passed away on us several years back, and I lost a dear friend, and he was one of the first people that said, hey, we need to get these people that's actually touched a race car, crew members, engine builders, car owners, we need to recognize them in the races reunion because they actually helped on the car. And I always said it's us crew members that make them drivers look pretty, because if we didn't do what we were supposed to do, they wouldn't be able to get out there and get all the TV time and the glory out of it.
Yep.
So thanks to Bill and thanks to my buddy Gene, he always called me and I don't know, 2 or 3 times a week, and we'd talk. And
it's like Robert Gates used to say, the engine crosses the finish line first.
There you go. The engine. There you go. If it wasn't for the engine builder, the car wouldn't get there. So, my buddy Bill, of course, I kid and call him Mr. Flathead because he's probably one of the best on flatheads I've ever seen. And I'm very fortunate and very blessed to call Waddell Wilson a friend. And I always call him the hierarchy of horsepower. So I make sure that they get their just rewards as well.
You remember his book? I've got his book. I got a copy of it. I found it on eBay for, I think it was like $20.
Oh, really?
And it sells for over $100 if you try to find it somewhere else.
Wow.
And I got so lucky that I got it. And I took it to him to sign it. And the other deal, I had heard he didn't make $1 off of it or whatever.
I think that's my understanding.
He was supposed to get $1 from each one or something like that.
Right, yeah.
So I went up to him and I tried to hand him $1, but he didn't take it. He said, "Hey, I got your book," and then I said, "If you don't mind signing it for me, here's $1."
He's a prince of a man. I mean, he's just him and Bill both. The whole.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The whole outfit. I mean, all the
Mr. Will Cronkite, he's tuned in.
Yep. Well, now that's my other buddy. Will is I can call Will a good friend. Yeah. I met him. I guess I met him at Hillsboro. He had come through. He wasn't signing autographs at the time, I don't think. And when he walked up, I said, "Are you Will Cronkite?" And he said, "I sure am." And I shook his hand, and I had my picture made with him, and I told him about my little story helping Cecil. Well, he was Cecil's crew chief for a while. And Raymond Williams, who they called Captain America back in the 70s, he drove the car number 47. And he was a clown, a cut up, and a good guy. He's still around, and he's a character within himself. But Will had they'd taken Cecil's car because Raymond had made a independent race, and all the independent drivers came. Well, Will was a crew chief, and I think Mike Hill was he was just a crewman at that time. And golly, Pete, I think
was it around 74?
Somewhere in there. They won with their Monte Carlo. It was number 11.
Okay.
And I never have been able to find out why they changed the car from 24 to 11. So if anybody knows, please let me
Will
let
Will
me
could
know.
probably tell us.
Yeah, Will could probably tell us.
Yeah.
I'm sure, and I think I've even asked him. But Cecil won that race, and out of all the races, his Grand National, of course, it wasn't a points deal or nothing like that, and he won the race. So, and I've always admired Will. He was a go-getter. He done all the TV cars or the movie cars and made time to have some cars himself. And of course, he along with Ed Negree helped make this fella called Earnhardt, and the rest is history after saying that. But Will is a very, very smart man. I'd call him a racing genius.
Oh, yeah.
To hear some of his stories and read, if you hadn't read the book, you can find the book. I don't know. I guess it's still on Amazon or.
It's on NASCARredneck.com.
Okay, so
Yep.
he's got that.
It's called
set
"I
up.
Was a NASCAR Redneck."
Yep.
And he provided the first competitive race car for Dale Earnhardt Sr. in
That's right.
1978. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a very good book. It's very informative.
He's and the stories are just. I mean, it's like being a young kid listening to your grandfather tell stories from way back, and you just sit there and just listen.
I love to listen to him.
I love to hear him tell stories.
I love listening to him and Bill Blair. Just sit down just sit down with each one of them, or call them on the phone and talk to them.
Oh yeah, Bill and I talk.
Great.
I don't know. We talk a lot. Matter of fact, he was telling me the history behind the car that's on the Bill's Last Run Moonshine label. And I think he said it was like 46 or 47 that the car ran, and he's got a picture of it, which is the picture on the bottle of it qualifying. And he told me the story about how that car came about, how the man that bought it, he had a wad full of money, pocket full of money, a big old wad, and he gave it the man the money for it and take it back to just this side of Martinsville. And I think the story goes that the people that had it, they would come in and robbed and were shot and killed and all this bunch of stuff. That I don't know how all that went about, but you'll have to ask Bill. I'd probably have to ask him off the air. But anyway, he's trying to find that car right now.
Maybe
So
he'll call us after the show's over with.
yeah,
Will commented. He said Bobby Isaac had driven that car earlier, and the number 11 was on that car at the time. We changed it after that race.
Okay, thank you, Will. I knowed I could count on Will.
That's
Yes.
He's my hero too. So thank you, Will. I appreciate that.
right. He's saying grandfather, question mark, question mark, question mark. Yeah, that's right.
But no, it's really amazing how things have changed. Bill Blair is a encyclopedia of stuff. People don't know this, or a lot of people don't know this, that he built the motor in Terry Labonte's car when he won his first race, which was the Southern 500. So Bill's got a lot of history in the 70s era. He's got a lot in the 60s era when he worked with Jim Paschal, worked for Jim Paschal, and even built the motors in the Javelins and stuff when I guess AMC was finally getting out of the stuff. Bill was there till the end. But it's people like that make people like me blessed to be where I'm at. No, I'm not flashy. I'm not fancy. I never stayed in it. I'm not, could I have been a big name crew chief? I don't know. I never had the opportunity, nor did I seek that out. But I done what I done because it was fun. And I done what I done because it was racing. And some people don't understand that. My dad had a hard time. Terry, you go to Charlotte, and I give you gas money, and you don't get paid nothing? I said, no, Dad, I don't. He said, what kind of deal is that? I said, Dad, it's just because I want to go, and I've got the opportunity to do so. And I always thought that that's what I wanted to do. I had a couple of chances to go to work for Hendrick Motorsport to drive a hauler, and that kind of fizzled out. Of course, my old buddy Henry Benfield was trying to help me in that part. He was driving the Folgers hauler at Hendrick, and that was the time that they switched to Kodiak, and Ken Schrader come. Well, I think he was driving. No, he had come with Kodiak at the same time as a sponsor, but it all fell through. And so it's like I say, opportunity.
Yeah, Henry's here in Statesville. He don't live too far from the studio here.
Yeah, I got to interview him up at Tri-County here about a month or so ago, and as I walked off, he said, Terry, remember, my elders like you, I always respect. So,
oh yeah.
So now I'm telling you what, there's another story. You need to get him on the show. Of course, I don't know. You'd have to bleep everything out. Probably some of the stories. Ask him about his brownies and. Oh man, I tell you what a character that was. But,
giving the officials. Special brownies.
Yeah, and giving Herb Nab a special sandwich because he always was sneaking around taking people's food. So my understanding was it was an Alpo sandwich. So, back in the day, you had your characters, and you could always count on being able to see them, talk to them, the drivers. You kind of like you knew everybody. And because you had heard it on the radio, the TV was nothing. When I was a kid, you didn't see a whole lot except maybe Wide World of Sports or something like that. And that was a half a race deal because they had to come in with whatever they were doing prior. But Hal Hamrick and MRN and all those boys brought it to me. Barney Hall, who was such a great man. Oh yeah, he's great in that too. I mean, you just close your eyes and you could see what he was saying. You could see the cars doing what they were saying. And of course, Ned Jarrett and all those folks with the radio, and that's the way I got it to hear it. And but it's the change is just it's just phenomenal. I mean, you can't even get. I don't know. You can't even get within 500 miles of the pits now. I don't think to even try to get in. It's definitely different. No, it's different. I remember at Hickory after the races, they opened the gates and everybody come down and seen their favorite people, and got your autographs and pictures, and but it's just it's a thing that has changed with the times that. I don't know myself personally. I just don't like it. I watched the race yesterday, and that's something that I very rarely do. And people can say they want what they want, but Kyle Larson is a wheel man.
Oh yeah, for sure, no doubt.
They steal some drivers out there. There's a lot of drivers at Tri-County and Hickory and Lonesome Pine and Kingsport. If they could get a chance, they could be just as good. But talent don't mean nothing anymore. It's who's got the most money. Oh yeah, and even with sponsors, who's got the most money. And it's sad because it's ruined a sport that that NASCAR don't want to. I can't say NASCAR, can I? That NASCAR they don't want to realize their humble beginnings.
You can say whatever you want.
Well, I don't want to say whatever I want.
Here's an example of that. One of my friends went to, he thought he was kind of going to interview for a racing job. So he went in and they told him, okay, after the whole deal, they said, okay, it's going to be about $50,000 per race. And he's like, okay, cool. I'm going to get $50,000 race. They said, no, you have to come in with that much sponsorship. Right. Right away. Yeah. So it's completely different than it used to be.
It's a sad to see things like that. I know the owners of the track, there's one of the boys' dad. Right. They had a deal with a ARCA deal, and Ashton Higgins is the young man's name, and he's a heck of a wheelman too. But it takes money, and this time here, I think was going on talent more than anything else. But the outfit kind of lied to him, and I think you get a lot of that this day and time as well. A lot of, I don't want to call them backroom deals, but some things are just, you don't understand why, and of course you never be able to ask the question why, because nobody won't tell you. But it's changed. I mean, and face the fact that it has changed, and just go on with it. But the good old days, I guess. That's a saying that everybody has. As far as racing, the good old days are gone. And if I could go back and do it again, Lord, yeah. Like I say, I'm a nobody, but I was a somebody to me, and it really, really made me happy to be able to do it. But I just, the reunions and stuff that has come out has probably helped more. I know Bill, like I say, I keep saying Bill Blair, but Bill and Sheila have done a lot. They've done a lot at Occoneechee till things flew to pieces there. And this Mount Airy deal is second to none. Every year it seems to be getting bigger and bigger. And that's what I like. But the sad part is that our heroes are getting older and older. And we just lost a great dirt driver this past weekend in Freddie Smith. That was one of my racing heroes as well.
Same here.
His daddy Grassy worked for Holman and Moody, and as a kid, Dad took me to the dirt races, and Dad and Grassy got to be good friends. And it's just amazing how you grow up and you look back at this stuff and think, wow, I was there. I was there watching Freddie Smith, and such a gentleman that he was. He could get spun and go to the back of the pack and come back and never retaliate that I ever seen.
He was known as the Southern Gentleman.
That's exactly right.
I just actually saw him a few weeks ago over at Phil Combs.
Right, yeah.
He was there for that again. And
I think I seen something right before he passed that Phil had put prayers for.
He did.
And I didn't know that Freddie was sick, but and that's the sad part. The old people is leaving. The best generation, which was our parents' generation, they're almost gone. And the next generation is my generation. And, it don't seem like, but several days ago that I was out sweating and pushing on a race car and beating a hammer and whatever it took to get it there. And now here I'm sitting, reminiscing of my memories, and I'm sure hopefully it conjures up other folks' memories as well, and that's what it's all about. My oldest son, Jarrett, of course, he's named after my hero, Ned Jarrett. He took a liking as a kid. Of course, I don't really guess he had a choice at times, but I got him a job. He's an official with us at Tri-County. It's not like we wanted to do, but at least we're racing. And he took my spot at the end of pit road to stop and go. And now I've been told that he's went and bought a street stock race car. So he's going to leave as an official. He's doing it right opposite. He's going to leave it as an official and go drive a race car. So, and I'm behind him 110%. It's going to be a thing that I'll never be able to be involved in stuff as long as I'm an official at Tri-County. And that won't have any bearing on anything because I don't do anything technical. I'm not in that mindset to do anything technical because coilover cars and all this new stuff, I don't know nothing about. When we race, you put a 1,000 or 1,100 pound rated front spring in the right front car, and then added your 800s and 600s and all this other stuff where you're going. And now this coilover stuff, they say it's half of what you used to do. I check spring or shock absorber rebound by the rubber boot that was on it. Now they've got shock specialists, shock dynos, you know, and that's just. I guess if I'd sit down and look at it, I'd understand it. But
I just put a reminder in my hand to give Glenn Jarrett a call.
Oh, okay. Call Glenn.
Yes, because he's going to come. He said he would come on the show.
He'd be good to have. Prayers out to. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
you.
Don't
prayers out to Ned Jarrett. Sure. He's. When I talked with Glenn, I guess it was at Mount Airy that Ned wasn't feeling very well, and of course, like I say, that's a hero that. You know, it's talk about him. He's. I remember a friend of mine worked at Lenore newspaper, Lenore News Topic, and he brought a picture that he had brought. Oh, it's probably a good 8 by 10, maybe a little bigger, and he had printed it off from the photos that they had at the race shop or at the newspaper. Listen to me, and it's a picture of Ned with his helmet on, and he's looking out the window with his arm propped up, and it's a shot from 1964. So I was the little sports newspaper in Lenore at the time. I'd went to Wilkesboro to take some pictures and do a little report for the newspaper there. Matter of fact, they even let me do a 15-minute segment on WJRI called they had it called Press Box Preview, and then I got to do my little 15-minute show to cover racing. And at that time, Herb Nabb had just passed away. That's whatever year that was. My mind doesn't go back much anymore. But anyway, that was a fun experience too, by the way. But I don't know. The changes, the way things are done. I took that picture, like I say, you could go in the pits. You could go anywhere at that time because I had the credentials to do so. But anyway, I remember taking that, got off track there. Took that picture into the garage area, and Dale was driving for the Wood Brothers. And we were standing there at the car, and of course, Leonard, he was doing his magic in the motor and the carburetor. And I said, of course, Ned had knew me. He and Martha and my cousin and his wife always played golf all the time together. So he knew me kind of through my cousin. And I said, Ned, I said, I just had a son, and I said, I named him Jarrett. I said, I named him after you. And if you know Ned, Ned's kind of you never know it, but Ned's kind of a quiet, shy fella off the air and stuff. He does his job or done his job like he should. But anyway, he said, well, how do I spell that? And I said, you spell it just like the world's greatest stock car driver, Jarrett. And Dale started laughing, and Ned turned about as red as the Ford pickup right there. So, but you know, there again, you can't do stuff like that no more. You know, you see Banjo Matthews and Bud Moore sitting on a bench in the pit area or in the garage area at Wilkesboro, and they're sitting talking, and you don't see that. That's all gone. Yeah. You don't see car owners like you do now. You don't see them people. You don't see builders, car builders. In your case, you did because of Robert Yates. I don't know. It's just the way things have done. Time has done things. Money's done things. And like I say, we're off on something else. Getting back to my.
Well, let's take a quick break.
Okay.
So we're about 20 minutes late on our break time, but that's okay. And then we're going to come back, and I'm going to turn the camera over to Bryson here whenever we come back, and then he can tell us a little bit about Hickory. He works up at Hickory, if you want to.
Okay.
If you want to talk about Hickory some. Yeah, that'd be good. All right, so we'll be right back to Racing Roots with Hamm, and we'll also do some shout-outs to some of our friends. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, this is Amy Phillips, Marketing and Event Coordinator at the Statesville Civic Center. Are you in charge of planning a meeting for your business, church, or community group? The Statesville Civic Center
Drive in Troutman. Home is where you want to be. Dove wants to help you stay there.
All right, we're back to Racing Roots with Hamm. We got Terry Anderson in with us this evening, and we're learning all kinds of good stuff and good racing stories. So we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Bryson or Tracy. Which one wants to go first? There you go, Bryson.
Yeah.
Go
Tracy?
for it.
Oh, me? You're going to give it to me? Okay, that's fine. Well, you talked about a couple of guys. Bill Blair's listening, so I want to say hey to Bill. And then Phil Combs says he's listening as well. He says he's your Tri-County buddy. So, yeah, so you know Phil from up there. And Ronnie Thomas also left a note. He said, so many like Terry paid their dues and helped independent teams for no pay when my dad ran the circuit, and then me. We probably had dozens of helpers over many years with no pay. Lots helped a race or two until after they found out it wasn't like sitting in the stands watching, and some stayed with us for nearly 20 years. So Terry can tell you it wasn't easy and hard work, but look at all the memories we all made. And then he says, by the way, I purchased Cecil Gordon's Chevy in 1979 and ran it for several years. So that's coming from Ronnie Thomas there.
That's cool.
On Facebook.
1978 Rookie of the Year, Ronnie
yes,
Thomas.
Sir. That's him. That's my old pal, too.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and as far as Hickory, it's funny you mentioned that because we've been kind of in a dormant spot in the year. We crowned Cade Brown as the track champion just a couple of weeks ago. And, as we move, October's kind of been a dead month over there. It's been really quiet up there in Newton at the Speedway. But we are going to have the Fall Brawl coming up on November the 11th, I believe, which is going to be very cool. It's always a lot of fun. And typically they used to run this race in October, but they moved it back to November last year, and I think they liked it a little bit better. And so it'll be nice and cool when we go racing again at Hickory. It'll be chilly out there, but that's good. It'll put on a good race.
Yeah, you can put on enough to get warm, but you can't take but so much off when it gets hot.
Yeah, that's right. And I think we spent a lot of weekends up there this year, and I'm sure you guys did at Tri-County as well. And man, it was a hot summer there on the pavement, especially for you guys because y'all got some brand new pavement down there.
Yes, sir.
So I know that blacktop is nice and warm.
About 130 degrees where I stand, or where I used to stand. Since I got my son down there, a young man could take it a little different, but 130 degrees where you stand, and then you've got to add the ambient temperature to it. I always lost a lot of weight, which I need to lose more. So that was a thing that helped me lose some weight. But yeah, that it does get hot. Yes,
it does. Yeah, and I'm spoiled this year because I've been up in the broadcast booth and helping those guys out. But I know you look at me like that. But I did spend last season I ran the fuel pumps and did some crossover gate work. So it's I'm glad that I did that before I moved up into the booth because I have a little bit of a knowledge and a lot more respect, I think, than the average person for those guys that are standing down there and working hard.
Yeah, that respect. You understand, and it's tough. Mm-hmm. Of course, I used to get some kids from the tower. They'd always gnaw on me a little bit. Said, Terry said, it's real cool up here. It's awful cool up here. Don't you wish you could come up and sit for a little while? So, that's it's wise guys.
I had a lot of fun. One of the things about being down there was I love being close to all the action that was going on. You get to spend a lot of time, met a lot of people, a lot of the team members. It was just really cool to meet all the people because you kind of learn, and I've learned from this, just doing this show. The racing is really one big giant family, so everybody's connected in some way for the most part. So just getting to make those connections and be down there with all the people was really good. So I try, whenever we do have a race, I try to get there pretty early and make my rounds and go say hey to all the drivers and speak to people, and that's an important part of my job too. Yes. Now is I think a lot of times people kind of avoid that, and I want to have a connection with the guys down there on the racetrack.
And that's a good thing. That's good public relations.
Yeah,
and that's what I always do at Tri-County. I try to go by and speak to people and thank them for being there, because without them, we couldn't race. Mm-hmm. On the same side, if it wasn't for us, they couldn't race. So it's a thing that has to work together, and that's very a young man like you, that's a rare thing to find, to do what you do, because a lot of folks wouldn't think about, thanking the drivers, the crew members, the car owners. It's just, and that's. I know that I liked you when I seen you, so that's a good thing. It really is.
Well, I mean, I really do think it's important, and it's something I've learned too, because I've worked under a lot of good people that have taught me that. But I think you just gotta have that connection and appreciation, because tracks like Tri-County and Hickory and places like that are the foundation. And I think, like you've said, the guys in Daytona and the people up in the big offices and all of those things. These people don't come from where you and I come from. They're not down there at the short track on a Saturday night, in the roots of the sport. And, our sport, the past has brought us to, something I think the guys, that met in that hotel in Daytona Beach, I don't think they could have ever imagined where the sport would be today.
That's right.
Even though it's so different, but I think we've moved too far away from that. And so it's important for me at least, to at least start there and try to increase. And I think in recent years, to me, it seems that, even like from the race fans, the ones that are showing up to the track, right. Mm-hmm. I feel like the support has grown a ton, and I think people are moving back to the roots. They are. Which is very important.
That's one thing that it has the grassroots of stock car racing, if that's what they're not stock no more, but the grassroots of stock car racing is about gone. Mm-hmm. You hear so many tracks closing up and people buying tracks to make housing developments, and that's what's happened over the years. But I really admire your understanding and being in the younger age group that, I don't know, they've not had the opportunities that us older guys have had, because it's just not there. The grassroots racing, as you very well said, that's what it's all about. Mm-hmm. And I'm afraid that's something that's moving out of line as we speak today. Yeah. Money.
Yeah, and it all goes back, and I appreciate you saying that. It all goes back to money, right? That's when the corporate sponsorships started becoming such a primary factor. I mean, we see guys now, if they don't have a sponsorship, they don't race. I mean,
that's right.
Joey, me and Coleman, we talked about Coleman.
Right.
Coleman Chapman races at Tri-County.
Right.
And we went to they put the dirt on Bristol. We went to the truck race down there, and we had a great time. Joey Logano ran that race, and it was funny because we were told that Joey had some random sponsor. I can't even remember who it was, but it wasn't one of his primary sponsors, right, or whatever. But he had to go out and get X amount of dollars. This is a 2-time NASCAR champion,
right,
one of the biggest faces in the whole entire sport. And for him to have to run a truck race, for him to even have the ability to get into a truck to compete in the race, he had to go out looking for sponsors. And so when I was told that, I was like, this is, that's when you kind of know we're too far gone.
Exactly.
We've moved too far away. That's, I just thought that was so crazy. But yeah, you're right. It's very important.
All right, Tracy, we're going to turn it over to you. We're going to do some shout-outs and hello to our friends.
Well, first thing I want to do is Dickie Dennis had a question. He said, is Terry also associated with the NHRA?
No, I am not. I know a good friend of mine that was an official, Satch Gragg, but I've always been roundy. I wasn't one of them squirt racers, as they called it. So
probably because one of my opening video before, if you click on this video to watch it, it plays the video that I did from ZMAX Dragway that we went to several years ago.
And then Daryl Derringer says, tell Terry, Daryl said hello. You're doing a good job.
Yeah. Hello, Daryl. That's my buddy. There's another driver, his dad, Daryl Derringer Sr., that needs to be in the so-called Hall of Fame down there. Daryl Derringer done a lot for racing. He tested tires from several years, and the story, I think, as I get it, Daryl cut a tire down and went to the pits and had to go somewhere else. And Billy Wade got in the car and that's when the tire blew and it took his life. So, but Darrell Derringer is a hell of a man, if I may say so. He's done a lot for stock car racing and one of the most overlooked people. And it hurts. And if it wasn't for people like Bill and people that's got these shows in the Wall of Fame, they're not going to make it because that's not the type of folks that NASCAR wants. And I'm sorry to say that. But hello, Darrell. Hope things are well in Indiana.
Yeah, we do this show right here. We do because we love the history and we want to document the stories that they're going to be gone someday.
Yep, that's true. And it's steadily, fastly coming.
Right,
that way.
They are for sure.
So hello to the folks that are listening. We've got Dickie Dennis that are tuned in and have commented on here. That's the only people I can see. Mitchell Courtney, Philip Riot, Michael Pruitt, Will Cronkrite, Greg Gould, Darrell Derringer, Kit Rodriguez, Jamie Orange, Paul Rodriguez, Jim Dooley, all say hello and doing a good job so far. And Scott Trevison, I forgot Scott. How can forget Scott?
There you go. He's listening in from Daytona.
Oh.
And, yep. And Paul and Kit are from Port St. Lucie. In Florida.
St. Lucie.
Of course, Will's down there near Rock Hill, kind of York. Somewhere down there.
Right just across the line. He's not far away.
Yeah. Yeah, thank y'all so much for watching. And if you're watching on Facebook or Twitter or Twitch or LinkedIn, you can also go to my YouTube page, DHammiam on YouTube, and you can see all the different camera angles and the close-ups and the Tracy cam and all that good stuff, which I think they're enjoying the Tracy cam for the most part.
I think they just like harassing me is all.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah.
See.
I think that's what it is.
Yes. All right.
Everybody says great show so far.
Yeah. Thank
y'all. I appreciate the opportunity again. I don't have a whole lot like a lot of others do, but I got a little scuff mark in there somewhere that I made, but I'm glad everybody's listening. Thank y'all, and hope I'm not too boring.
I did want to mention a few things because I told some friends that I would do some different shout outs, and one of these is the Jim Grant, who he had messaged me about the world's largest barbecue. This thing weighs 50 tons. It's a tractor trailer, and it's got all these barbecue grills lined up on it. So obviously it's the world's largest. You can see it on YouTube. But he's asking if anybody wants to ever rent it out for charities and stuff.
Is that not the one that and I'd have to find out, Food City always put on a deal for the spring and fall race. Yeah. And they done it in the street. Okay. And I think is that not the same truck that I mean, man, this thing is.
That's got to be it then.
Yeah, I mean.
Tractor trailer, beautiful tractor trailer.
I'm telling you what, man, eat that kind of barbecue, it hurt him.
Oh, yeah. So, if anybody's interested in that, they can message me or they can message Jim Grant. He's probably got it listed on his Facebook page, but he's on Facebook Messenger and all that stuff. And the other thing was John Tretow. Hope I'm saying his last name right. Tretow. He worked in racing for a while, but he had asked me about this thing called Sweet Street. It's going to be out in Kannapolis. And it's going to be a big, let's see, Roush Yates Racing Engines is getting involved in it too. And they're going to you bring, how many pieces of candy did it say? Like 3,000 pieces of candy,
something like that. Each person's supposed to bring 3,000 pieces of candy at a trunk or treat.
Yeah.
Trunk or treat.
So you put lights in your trunk and then you hand out candy to the kids over in Kannapolis. And
One
they usually
piece
have
each.
Yeah, around 3,000 pieces to give out.
Sounds like toys for tots or stocks for tots, I should say.
Well, and that's the other mention. I talked to Don Miller Saturday, and so we're going to be there for Stocks for Tots again. We're going to be broadcasting live over the Racing Roots with Hamm. You're going to be available there, Bryson?
I should be. Yeah. I just saw that. I saw that posted today.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, good. And, okay, so that's going to be, and I was going to look it up and see exactly when that's going to be, but I'll let you know that in just a minute. But, yeah, Don Miller's doing good. He was invited us to come out there and broadcast that. And we also were at the North Carolina Auto Racing Hall of Fame, Walk of Fame. I meant to message you, but I'm pretty sure you weren't going to be able to go anyway.
Probably not.
I went down there for that.
I had to miss that as well. So, and if I may, while you're talking about the Hall of Fame down there, let's give a big shout out to my good friend Bob Hisson.
Oh yes,
Bob is an outstanding man. He's done a lot. Like I say, he's helped me along with some of these things. Matter of fact, I got to participate in some of the Stocks for Tots, and that is a very, very well it's wonderful for children. I mean,
We've
that's
enjoyed it.
Yes, it's and Bob does a heck of a show, and the behind the scenes is, he's just tooth and nail, but Bob is a genuine friend, and I thank you for letting me do that. Bob deserves a big shout out for what he does.
Yep, I saw him down there at the Walk of Fame, and Bill and Sheila were there, of course, and Doug Yates was there, and he was giving out the reward for Edsel Ford Jr. Rusty Wallace was there too with for Roger Penske, because he also got the star. Edsel Ford did Jr. and Roger Penske, and that is going to be Stocks for Tots is going to be Wednesday, December the 6th. At the Charles Mack Citizen Center in Mooresville, and that's at 6 o'clock till 8:30 p.m. Tickets go on sale November the 2nd. So there's a whole list of people confirmed, including Racing Roots with Hamm.
When is the trunk or treat?
And the trunk or treat is October 31st.
Okay.
It's on Halloween.
Philip was asking.
Oh, yeah. It's at Halloween time. So, and the Stocks for Tots, there's so many people there that sign autographs. There's pretty much a long line, but they get everybody in, and they get everything signed for everybody. So
yeah, they do a good job. We used to have the old people.
Who got on the line with us?
Hey, hello, this is the Bandit.
Hey there, Gail.
How you doing?
Put these on. I'm doing good. About you, buddy?
I'm okay. I just wanted to tell Terry a big old hi for me, and good to hear him on there. Done a good job. Tell him we'll need to go for breakfast here for long again.
That sounds awful good to me, sir, and I'll even by. How's that sound?
Sounds good. You guys take care now.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you a whole lot.
Yeah, thanks for calling, Gail. Good talking to you.
Okay, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. The pod here, there's something going on with it. Did you hear it real scratchy?
Yeah.
And so whenever we get call-ins, it kind of sounds, it's got a lot of, I don't know what it is. They haven't fixed it yet. I know that much, right?
No.
Yeah. So anyway, that was
live
good.
radio.
The old
Live
bandit
radio.
there. Yeah, he called us live action.
Yes, sir. That's my buddy too. The Bandit. There'll never be another one of those.
No, you're right about that. He's awesome, great guy. Always like talking to him. He's another one that's been around a long time and has done a lot of things and a lot of history in the sport. And
a story about Gale, his father. I'll be dadgum. Old timers sit in here.
It happens
Gulf
to us
States,
all.
I think it was a trucking, their trucking division. His dad drove there. I think Gale drove there as well. And my first cousin started driving there, and his riding partner was Gale's father. So, and I kind of knew Gale that way, but that was a long time ago. But I got to meet him several different times, and we've gone out to eat, and we talk at the holidays. But there's people like that they just don't make no more. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, sad to say, but you know, the good people are
fading.
That's a good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Fading.
Mm-hmm.
That's. I'm gonna write that down. Can I use that?
Fading.
You certainly may.
Yeah, it was good to see Gail. It was a surprise to see him when he come in Mount Airy up there to see everybody. So
yeah,
he's been on the show. He came on by himself when we talked. He was here with
He's been like 3
with
times.
his son-in-law, and then who else was here with him though? Anyway, yeah, he's been on a few times. But the last time he was here with Harry Gant was here, and Tracy's dad Kenny Thompson was here. Mm-hmm. And then Gail was here. Gail was the Bandit. Yeah.
The Bandit.
Mm-hmm.
The Bandit.
That's what I meant to ask you earlier about was you were talking about Speedy Thompson. And I got to thinking, too. I was like, wait a minute. It'd probably be way before your time, Buddy Schumann.
Yeah, that was a little before my time. Mm-hmm. But we always had the Buddy Schumann Memorial at Hickory. I don't know that...
They still do that, Bryson?
I don't think they do.
No, we don't have we do a memorial race for Jack Ingram and Bobby Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We don't do the Schumann.
At that time, back then, they done the Buddy Schumann race, which Buddy was from there and made it big, and of course he lost his life in the fire accident there at the motel. But Buddy Schumann was a hot shoe as well, and thanks again to Bill Blair for the history prior to my era.
Yeah.
And
Tracy's grandfather jumped in that car one time whenever Buddy was out of town.
Is that
and
right?
Drove it, and he wrecked it pretty bad. Willie Thompson.
Really?
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah, he tore the car up. He was more of a mechanic than he was a driver.
Right. Well, that's what I figured. I didn't think I had what it took to be a driver.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was pretty, but
Don't want to mess up.
Yeah,
your
that's
face.
it. But I figured that I'd do better by greasing and turning bolts, and
right.
I just wished I'd have turned some more bolts and learned a lot more. But that's the past. You can't change that.
Yeah, but you know a lot more than some.
Well, I've got to do a lot more than some, and I do know a little bit. I mean,
of course,
you
wouldn't be where you are if you didn't.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I learned a long time ago that there's no I in team.
Correct.
It takes the man that washes the glue off the lug nuts. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't use lug nuts anymore, do we?
Right.
To the driver that climbs behind the wheel. It all has to come together. Mm-hmm. And like I said earlier, sometimes it's like herding cats. Mm-hmm. It's a controlled chaos at times, but it takes everybody. Mm-hmm. And I learned that a long time ago. I learned it a long time ago, and that had helped me a lot in my my career with the state. Knowing that you've always got to be a team player, no matter what. You have to be a team player. And I don't know, teams this day and age, they've got they're over-the-wall specialists, retired football players, college football players, wrestlers, whatever. And then at the time, I was like 137 pounds wringing wet. I've carried tires. I've carried a tire.
A tire.
A tire.
At a time.
I've rolled a tire. I wasn't as good as some of the fellas, especially. I don't think there's a whole lot of people could hold their weight with the Wood brothers. So, but yes, I've been very fortunate. I've made my little scratch, and I'm very proud of that. But it just wasn't in the cards for me to be a Tim Brewer or someone like that. Just the way it was, But I had a good time.
But it doesn't mean you were any less significant.
Well, that's what I say. Whether I was, if I could have went the whole season, if I could have went everywhere that Cecil could go, and I couldn't because he was an independent driver, like Elmo Langley, and there's another man that's overlooked a whole lot, and he even worked for NASCAR. He passed away behind the wheel of a pace car in Japan.
1996.
That's it. Yeah. And
I was there for that.
You in Japan? That's right. I guess you were, weren't you? Mm-hmm. So, but it's just I've made a mark, a scuff mark, and I'm proud of that. I really am. I mean, it's nothing to a lot of people, but to me, it's something. And my boys, they look at it, and I was glad to be able to share stories with them, and like I say, especially Jarrett, Alex. He took a different turn in things. He likes racing, but it was always Jarrett, because Jarrett's the oldest, and Lord, there's like 8 years between them. So I guess I got to spoil him with the spoils of racing before Alex could get it all.
Ma Hoffman?
Yes.
Okay, so she's watching now.
Oh,
awesome.
is she? Okay, good.
On the Facebook.
Thank you, Ma. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
But like I say, it's been fun. I don't know where we left off at, David, as far as I've got into my late model years. Steve Lawrence, who everyone out there, please remember Steve. He started treatments for cancer today. I helped Steve. Steve was a hot shoe. He was one of those that if they had the money, he had the talent, but he needed the money. and he and Dale Earnhardt Sr. became good friends. And it would have been nice at that time if Dale had been further along in his career that maybe Steve could have worked with him, because Steve was a heck of a driver. Of course, I helped a couple other fellas around Lenoir when they needed somebody to help. Of course, our biggest claim to fame was a little town called Whitnall, North Carolina, which is been taken over by the town of Lenoir. But Larry Smith, that drove the Carling Black Label number 92 Mercury, he was from Lenoir, or Whitnall, as they called it on MRN radio.
Oh yeah, I always used to love how they tell where they're from.
And Hal Hamrick would always say from Whitnall, North Carolina. So, Larry was on his way to brighter things, and of course, tragically, he lost his life in Talladega, and that was a shame. Mr. Harley was a good friend of mine, and Harley was like the Wood brothers. If you cut him, Ford Blue would start out first before it turned red. So,
right.
And I remember Larry drove a Chevrolet, a Chevelle out in Riverside, and I don't think Harley even went out there with him, because he said, "I can't believe that Larry's going to drive a Chevrolet." So that's how Ford. He was dedicated to Ford, like Bud Moore and the Wood brothers, and everyone else that run the Blue Oval. But
did I mention Bob Land?
Yes,
1975 Tri-County Speedway.
Yes, Bob and I went to school together, and I always clowned around at the radiator in the school. We was always a bunch of us there, and I'd always try to do my radio voice and play Hal Hamrick. And Bob and I were good friends. We growed up in church together, and I kind of got Bob started. He worked. He helped Steve some. He helped a fellow by the name of Ronnie Davidson for a while, and as it went on, Steve Lawrence, that I mentioned, is Max Presswood's brother-in-law. So Max Presswood was on his way to stardom, and Bob worked with Max for a long time. Max was the Southeastern Winston Racing Series champion. I think that was in '92. Somebody correct me. My mind is not as strong as it used to be. And now Bob's still hanging around. He's working with Don Carlton on his limited late model, and Don Carlton's dad was Don Carlton Sr., who drove the Motown Mopar missiles in drag racing. So we've got some few people around in the Lenoir area, which is nestled right at the foot of the mountains there from Boone, Blowing Rock.
We had another comment come in.
Yeah, just a quick one. Roddy Langley says they're listening. Says awesome interview, Terry.
Thank you, Roddy. Roddy and I sat together at Mount Airy. Of course, as I alluded a while ago, Elmo Langley, that's Elmo's son, and Roddy's a fine fella, outstanding fella. So he comes through the era as I did. We're about the same age. As a matter of fact, I think we are the same age, and he come around through it like I did, except his father was in it, so he got to go a lot of times where, like I say, my trips were few and far between, except Charlotte. I did go to Richmond at the old fairgrounds, and I slept in the Volkswagen, me and two of my buddies, off of turn 4 in the rain. So that was my first trip to the old fairgrounds. And of course I went to Rockingham one year, and it was so cold. I'm telling you what, you probably have to pry the dogs off the fire hydrants. It was so cold down there. And I think we had ignition problems. So every time Cecil come down pit road, when they opened the hood, everybody that could go across the wall would go over and warm their hands. So, but different times.
Back when we were talking about Elmo Langley, I remember the last time I saw him, it was down in Japan, and we were down in the lobby of the hotel, and I just remember looking at him, and I remember thinking, man, there's a legend right there, you know. Exactly. He was the pace car driver for the race too, but I knew his history. And then the next thing you know, he passed away in the pace car.
Right.
I guess Wally Dallenbach was with him. So we went out to dinner one of the nights afterwards, and then Wally was basically saying, in Japan they didn't even have the defibrillators there ready at the track. 'Cause I guess Japan they don't eat a lot of. I mean, they eat healthy,
right? And
they're for the most part in good shape, or they used to be 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so they didn't even have the.
Yeah, that was a sad day for racing for sure. And my Elmo Langley story is how it unfolded. I can't remember, but he took me back to the motel. Cecil had got us all a motel, one room, 6 people.
Oh wow!
So under the bed, on the bed,
in the bathtub.
That was my next comment. In the bathtub.
Yeah.
So I slept halfway under the bed there in downtown Charlotte. Well, the outskirts of Charlotte, there on the DeRuyter Road. Yeah, DeRuyter Road, and with the door halfway open. So that tells you how times were.
Oh yeah.
You can't leave your windows cracked in Charlotte this day and time. Mm-mm. But anyway, Elmo took me back to the motel, but we stopped at the Apollo restaurant. I think that was a place about. As a matter of fact, they sponsored Billy Scott, and they sponsored Carl Smart and a couple other folks. Hello. It wasn't too deep for what I'm always listen to, but Elmo stopped there, and I had and that's back, I guess, when you could get away with it. I had me a Pabst Blue Ribbon in a glass that the little glasses that they always brought water to. Well, you're not old enough to remember that. But anyway, I had a Pabst Blue Ribbon with Elmo Langley. So, and of course, I wasn't of age, but don't tell nobody. But, that's the good old days.
Yeah. Speaking of Billy Scott, Phil Combs had posted a picture that had Billy Scott right beside Freddie Smith in one of the articles.
I seen that earlier today. Yeah,
very cool.
And I got to talk to Billy at Mount Airy, and that's the first time I had actually seen him probably in 35 or 40 years. And he hasn't changed a whole lot. Just he's grown. Maturity does him well. I think he's having a little problem remembering things, but hey.
We all do.
We all do. So, but those were childhood heroes there.
Same here.
Yeah, I mean
Billy Scott. So he came up to me at the Mount Airy and said, "Do you know Dink Widenhouse?" I said, "Yeah, I know Dink." So he said, "Well, take me to him." He said, "I don't know if I'd recognize." And he might have just been Billy Scott.
Right.
He's like, "Well, take me over there to him." I don't know, but he looked like he was really serious. Like I don't know if I would know him if I saw him. So I took him over there and sat down, and I sat there and listened to them to have a conversation about the old days of racing.
Right.
Apparently, Billy Scott, when he got when Dink Widenhouse got out of the Marion Cox car, Billy Scott took over.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah,
man. So listening to them.
Yeah, now that's what I like about the old reunions. Mm-hmm. Or I should say the old timers reunions, or however you want to put it. Mm-hmm. To listen to these stories of my heroes.
Oh yeah.
Just I mean, it's like I say, it's like a young kid listening to his grandfather tell a story. Amazing. When we had to back to the Roots deal in Daytona for the COVID and everything, Bill always had a round table discussion, and they seen fit to put me in it. Why, I don't know, but there again, we had Brownie King.
Yeah.
We had Johnny Allen.
Yeah.
Dink Widenhouse when. Yeah, Dink was there during one of the years I was there, I think. And of course, we had Mario Rossi's son, Bill, and a couple other people.
Johnny Allen raced on the beach and the new track.
But Brownie King, Johnny Allen, Rex White, and Paul Goldsmith, only 4 people left that ran on the beach course.
Yeah.
And went to Daytona in '59, and all of them are still well. Rex is even, matter of fact, I need to call Rex. Rex is doing a lot better. Yeah. I haven't talked to Johnny.
He was at Phil Combs. Rex was.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He was.
Johnny Allen wasn't there, but he was at Daytona last year, February.
Oh, okay.
He was down there for that.
So, and I understand that Goldie is doing well. So we still have 4 that are left from the Grand National, the beach days, that are there. And then, of course, the modified, there's still a lot of the modified drivers around, Johnny Handy and folks like that. And you know, what do you say? I mean, the old is going with the new. The old guard's out, the new guard's coming in. And it's a sad thing. It's a sad thing for racing, and it's a sad thing that NASCAR has done the older folks that made it what it is, that they've done them like they've done them.
Well, speaking of racing, we went to Charlotte, and I was going to mention this because Tracy she looked at me a couple of times whenever they were doing driver intros, and because we were down there in front of the stage, they had a little concert, you know, and then they had a few things. We were standing there waiting for the drivers before we went up to the suites, which we were up there with Jerry Cook and his crew.
Right.
And so we were down there, and they, as soon as they mentioned there was 2 drivers they did the boos for. One was, the first one was when Denny Hamlin came out. It was like, boo, you know, everybody around. Yeah. And then the other one was Bubba Wallace, the other boos. So go figure those.
Yeah, well.
The rest of them were kind of, yeah.
Well,
Somebody likes them.
Yeah.
I saw that's funny because Tracy looked
Their
at me and she's
mothers
like,
do.
wow. She thought that was really rude, I guess is what it was.
I'd never heard it in person, and I was like, wow.
Well, you know, speaking of Denny Hamlin, his dad's got a what we call vintage. And you know what we're talking about, Bryson, is the old cars that I used to see on the track and messed with. He's got a car, a blue 70 Chevelle, I think it is, and he's got a fellow that drives it for him. But Denny Hamlin's dad, they used to come and race quite a bit at Tri-County. So he told me, he said, Denny bought us a house, and he said, I just wasn't that far up on the ladder. I had to go back to where I come from. So, but Mr. Hamlin's he's a nice guy. He really is.
So I met Kurt and Kyle. I was about to say it again. I was trying to say it too fast.
Welcome to my world, son.
Yes. Kurt and Kyle Bush's dad came by to pick up an engine one day, and he's driving this old pickup truck. It was actually a pretty nice looking old truck, slammed kind of down a little bit and whatever. But he had told one of the guys that he started talking about Kurt and Kyle and all this stuff, and I was just kind of like, no, there's probably just no way. But anyway, it was kind of a cool experience. You talked to him, but he's still still getting engines for the race cars and stuff.
That's good.
But I think Kyle's pretty much sold his place over to the who did he sell it
Was
to?
it
Spire, I think.
Was it Spire? I believe it was Spire. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I seen was it Spire that Ty Dillon was driving for, and they cut him loose at the end of this season? Am I right?
I think you're right. They were going to pick up the Carson Hocevar.
That's him. Yeah.
So they were going to pick him up. So I think there's a lot of changes. I was a little surprised to see Kyle Busch let go of Kyle Busch Motorsports.
I was too.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I would think that it completely goes over to Spire. I thought when I first seen it, I thought surely they'll still, Kyle will have something to do with it, but I guess not.
It's a complete buyout, was my understanding. Of course, I have to hear things second and third hand every once in a while, but
well, speaking of hearing things, I'd heard Dickie Dennis says Denny is never mind. But
that's Bill Dennis's son. Yeah.
So I actually heard that Denny had to do some type of, like, I don't know if you call it sensitivity training or something, but somehow some type of training to help work on his personality. So,
I had a couple of convicts tell me that one time. Said, Sarge, you need to go find a school to work on your manners.
Yeah.
You know what, though? I'm not a Denny Hamlin fan by any means, but I do love people that have a little bit of personality. I mean, I'm not I'm not in support of, his he makes some smart aleck comments, and some of the things he says I don't agree with 99% of it, but I do like that he's not the your carbon copy that all the rest of them are.
Right.
So I guess there's a good side to having a bad guy, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
There's always bad guys that sold tickets, and
Yeah.
that probably
Oh, yeah.
still does sell tickets.
Mm-hmm.
You got your rivals you have had since it started, but No,
Spit it out.
most of the drivers this day and time,
Yes.
they climb in. If they can, some of them tell their crew chief what the car's doing, but they go back to them $1 million buses and sit and play games and watch TV. And if they've got children, they do interact with their children, but it's not like it used to be. Hands-on drivers are few and far between. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about Johnny Chapman and Coleman. That's a hands-on driver. Mm-hmm. Ashton Higgins is a hands-on driver. These development teams that grandmother and grandfather or mom and dad's got deep pockets, I would venture to say that they probably couldn't change spark plugs.
Right.
I may be wrong, and if I am, I'm sorry, but that's it. I mean, there's no in between as far as I'm concerned.
It's very true, and at Hickory and Tri-County is the same way. We have a lot of teams come through, and I'm not gonna, I won't say any names,
No.
but there are the development teams that come from the big Chevrolet pockets, the Toyota pockets. Even Ford has development teams, and you can see those guys. Just talking to the drivers, you'll learn a lot. And there's drivers walking through the pits. If you just sit back and kind of watch, you'll see the drivers that are, and a lot of them are family teams. So your family teams, it seems a lot of the times, everybody's involved. You've got, everybody from, family members to friends pitching in to help that race team
That's
out.
it.
And those are the guys, those drivers are the ones that are in there, digging around in the car, and you talk to them, and they really know what's going on. And we've had just so many drivers come through this year, and I'll have a conversation with them, and it's just like you can tell that they're, they know how to drive the car, but they don't have a clue what's going on underneath the hood or what's going on around the car. And I think that causes, it's easier to get away with that now when you're, basically driving a computer that goes 200 miles an hour.
That's right.
But, back in the day, and I still think it still affects it today, just not as much. But these guys that do know more about the car are ultimately going to be your better drivers to have, because they're going to know what, if they feel something going on in the car, they kind of know the areas that they need to improve on.
They can drive by the seat of their pants, so to speak. They can feel what the car's doing, and they're able to explain it a lot more. But when you, like you say, you sit on a computer and do these things, I guess you can get better at it, but there's nothing like what was it Junior Johnson always told Darrell Walter? Experience. It takes experience, boy. So, until you're out there doing it, you're out there touching it.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. Anybody can read anything from a book and be a scholar, but until you put those words into actions or action, it's just reading things out of a book. So, but
Bryce, I thought about you a few weeks ago. We went out to where was that? Greensboro Coliseum? No, I'm sorry. We were in Raleigh.
Oh, at the PNC Arena.
The Checkers play there.
Yeah. Well, the Hurricanes play in there.
Oh,
yeah. The Checkers are in Charlotte. Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Gosh.
I got you.
It's all right.
Last time I went to a hockey,
they're the same. It's the same thing.
Last time I went to a hockey game was probably the Checkers, and that was back in the day.
Well, Felix Sabatis, his name is up there on the. He's got a banner in there. He had a he had a lot to do with starting that team.
Yes, he did.
That's when I used to get tickets whenever he was starting into doing the Checkers.
Well, now you worked at Sabco, right?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get tickets for that.
I used to always think that the Checkers being in Charlotte might have had something to do with racing, which I don't think it does. But I always thought, if that would have been. I mean, it makes sense because they used to have the checkers on their jerseys and stuff. I thought they should tie racing into that just a little bit, being in Charlotte.
Well, when I was a kid, the Charlotte Checkers were there, so they were there before I was. So I don't really know how that ever came about, and it might have been because of racing. Who knows? But if anybody out there knows, how about?
I would love to know.
I've
always
somebody
wondered.
know here. Yeah. But they Charlotte Checkers were. They were there when I was a kid because WBTV in Charlotte had a sportscaster by the name of Big Bill Ward, and that's how I learned about the checkers and learned about wrestling and stock car racing. Big Bill, he was into that wrestling. He was a ringside announcer, and he told the racing. And that's, like I say, you very, very rarely heard anything about stock car racing at all unless you listen to your local television. And where I'm from at that time, you could get 3 stations. You get Greenville, South Carolina, and both Charlotte stations. And if the wind was blowing right, you could get WLOS out of Asheville every once in a while. So that in the radio, that's all you had. Yeah. And it's not like sitting at the house and phones or what you.
If you had a longer cord on your phone, then you were like, wow, I can go in this other room.
That's right.
Talk on the phone. I could stretch it all the way in my bedroom.
Somebody posted a picture on Facebook the other day. You're old if you remember this, and it was a rotary dial telephone.
Rotary dial.
You just that's the way you depended on the radio. For everything. And
that's how I learned how where every driver was from. Like Ernie Irvin from Modesta, California, and Chemung, New York. The Bodines.
North Tonawanda, New York. That's a good one. That's where the Hurt come from, Jim Hurtubise. So he drove for the Pontiac and Chevrolet teams for Will Cronkite used to work on them at Nichols Engineering. So, but yeah, that's I
got another question for you. Do you remember Crockett Park?
Yes, sir. I sure do.
Because I remember going there as a kid.
Yes, sir. I sure do. I lived in Charlotte for a couple of years, and matter of fact, I got to go to a basketball game out there. So, and Crockett Park, if I'm not mistaken, is part of the Jim Crockett Promotions that actually had the wrestling and stuff that they showed on Channel 3 out of Charlotte. So that was a big hub for the wrestling deal.
Yeah, when I was a kid, wrestling and racing was the big thing in Charlotte.
That's it.
And that's what we had.
And of course, I was a part of that as well. I watched my grandmother throw pillows at the TV because she didn't like what was going on with the wrestling. But things have changed a whole lot, haven't they?
The Crockett Park burned down. Somebody set it on fire.
Yep, somebody set it on fire. Sure did. That was one of the original wooden stadiums. I think the bleachers and everything was steel. I don't even think that they had the steel trusses on it. I think they still had the wooden poles and everything that the seat sat on. So, but like everything else, it changes.
Yeah, we got to go there when I played my first year. I played baseball, which was around 1980. 79, somewhere around there. We got to go with our baseball team.
Wow.
Yeah. Way back in the day, Sonny.
Yeah, way back in the day. Yeah, I was married the first time when that happened. So.
Oh yeah, there you go. Hey, here's another guy that knows a lot and is a historian of sorts. Who is that? Who would that be, Tracy?
Dargan Watts.
That's him. Yeah. Dargan is very well. I'm sorry, Dargan. I should have mentioned your name as well. You've done a whole lot for the Racers Reunions, and your history is very well appreciated. Another fellow I know he's not listening, but down in Daytona Beach, Florida, is Buzz McKim. Yeah. Buzz is a historian that's. I don't think there's anything that he does not know, and he presents himself very well at the reunions in Florida, and he presented himself and his knowledge very well at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. I think my personal thinking is when Buzz left, the history left with Buzz. Mm-hmm. So, of course, don't forget Dargan, don't forget Bill, and some of these other folks.
That's going to be Bryson someday too.
I don't know. Maybe I'd love to.
I hope so.
I hope so too. I talk to these guys, and a lot of times I just listen, but because I feel like I don't have nothing to say, but I take it all in, and I'm thinking if I could just have a little corner out of their book of knowledge that they've got, I'd be doing pretty good.
See, that's. Your age group, that's why I say that's tremendous. That's outstanding. My son is be 34 next year, and he knows what I know, and he's listened to Bill, and he's listening to, just like you. He sat down and he listens, and that's the only That's the only way that the history is going to survive. Mm-hmm. Yep. Is this younger group that shows interest in it. That's the only way they're going to take the ball and run forward with it. Mm-hmm. If not, then it's going to die out with us.
Yeah, right.
Us.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, and that's what I like to do. I like to talk about the old stuff. I like to talk about my stuff because it ties in with where it came from.
Tracy, read what Dickie said.
He's asking what the mascot was for the Checkers.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, he also said he wants to be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He could be. So he could be
he probably is in there, and he may just not know it.
That's true. He may very well be in there. Dickie Dennis was the one that he climbed up on the fence at Richmond in 2014, and they stopped the race. So he could be the fence climber in NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Okay, that's right. He could go along with the fella that stole the pace car at Talladega that year. So, but
yes.
You mentioned Dink Widenhouse a while ago.
Right.
I like to ask everyone to keep him in the prayers. I talked to Davita. She was with the modifieds at Tri-County week 4 last, and she said Dink was a little under the weather. And he is such a gracious, outstanding man. Always has something to say. Always speak to you. Always talk to you. Always got a smile on his face no matter what. You talk to him and you can see that smile come out.
Yeah.
And that is a true legend right there. The things that he's done and accomplished, he should be in a Hall of Fame somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
But he is on the Wall of Fame in Mount Airy, North Carolina, and that's thanks to the folks at Mount Airy, the business association, which backs it 110%, and Bill and Sheila Blair, and all the other folks that helped them to put it on. I hate to call names and then not remember and forget somebody. If I have, I do apologize. But that ties right back into what I just said. If it's not for them, we wouldn't be able to have our past. And that's what NASCAR doesn't like, is their past, because they don't want people to know that it was on ill-gotten gains, white liquor and bad money. No, that's not the way I see it. I'm sorry. Folks just don't get it. It's about an image. It's about an image to portray, and I'm who I am, and I'm always going to be who I am, because I'm afraid if I get above my raising, as my mama used to say, I might look around and she'd be standing there with a switch. So, but it's just not that way. Things have to start. There has to be a beginning to anything, and so what? I mean, folks paid their dues and they paid their time when they got caught. They had to do their jail time, or they had to pay their fines. A lot of the Southern Baptists, they still don't like that this day and time. The Bible Belt is a hard place to sell anything that I can say I'm a born again Christian. I believe and I know what's what and all this stuff, but I'm not going to bring religion into nothing. It's just a matter of that was a no-no, and the people didn't do that. You didn't go to that side of town, but some people did, and some people that did that started seeing a progression and started the money and everything in Atlanta and everything in Spartanburg and everything in Charlotte. And it just grew into something that I don't care where it come from. I could care less where it come from. Something has to start somewhere, and it did. And NASCAR just turns their a blind eye to it, and that's a sad thing.
Bill Blair just messaged me. He said he's not a historian. He just happened to be there.
Well,
he saw it in color.
He saw it in Technicolor. He did, and he like Barney Hall. he paints that picture so you can see it. I can see his dad's cars and all the drivers out under the big tree in front of the garage, and Bill Blair coming out of the hayloft playing Batman. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. The old Batman story is great. He is a great storyteller.
He sure is. He's
so
can't beat him.
Paul Rodriguez says people remember every like helps the shows. Yes, I meant to say that earlier. Hit that thumbs up if you would.
Yeah, do that. Even if I am here.
If you like. And then Dargan Watts had a comment.
Dargan says, we lost one of the greatest Sunday when Freddie Smith left us and has gone racing in heaven.
Yes.
Rest in peace, my friend.
Yep.
Yeah, we were talking about him earlier in the show, for sure. We just saw him a few weeks ago, or I did, down at Phil Combs.
Yeah, I bet
Billy Scott was there.
Bet Freddie and Mr. Grassy, they're probably working on the engine as we speak right now. So
yeah, they were legendary down there in Carolina and Gaffney and
yes, sir.
Grassy Smith and
they were
no doubt
outstanding heroes for sure. But is there anything else you'd like to ask me that I can put my knowledge out there?
Well, there was the question, do you have any Sterling Marlin stories?
The only Sterling Marlin story that I can remember right offhand, of course, Sterling was helping his dad when I got the privilege and honor and privilege to hang around with the boys there on the 24 car. And Sterling's probably 2 years older than I am. So, I can remember him as being a nice guy, a nice guy. But the Sterling Marlin story that I think's comical is, let's see, about 4 or 5 years ago, Travis Tiller, who was a former Grand National driver who needs some prayers. He's in bad health right now from out of Virginia. He put 10 bricks at the Main Street station, is the station in Daytona Beach where Bill France Senior had that was his filling station. So Main Street Station is still there. It's still basically the front, and it's got the garage with it and everything. They put bricks out in front, pavers. So I think Sterling was down. Maybe somebody put Sterling's name in there on the brick. I can't remember. But anyhow, at that time, Travis had put a brick in Cecil's name and honor, and I wound up with a brick. So we was all up on stage. Humpy was there as well. So they were talking, and Sterling come up on stage, and the first thing that Humpy done is he pulled a big old wad of money out, and he peeled off a 20. He said, "Here's Sterling, here's for your tow money coming down to Daytona." So evidently, I think it goes back to a story way back in the 70s when Cuckoo was running, and they wanted some tow money for coming all the way down from Tennessee to Daytona, and somehow or another they didn't get it. So Sterling got the towing money anyway. So, but that Sterling is one fine fella, and I think he was an ambassador, so to speak.
Yeah.
Always humble, always stuck to his Columbia, Tennessee roots, and he was just Sterling, just not a put on, not.
Yeah, he is
just
who
a
he
genuine. Yeah, it's right, and he's genuine.
Yeah,
but
no doubt. Still keep in touch with him. Sterling's one of my favorite people in the world. He would whenever I was jackman for him, and he'd be out there racing, and we would look at each other and laugh at the comments he would make, because it's just like he wouldn't get like fired up and start yelling and cussing or any of that kind of stuff. He'd just be like, "That big Dumbo just about ran me over," or something like, or he'd come up, big eye dummy, or he'd just come up with some kind of name for other drivers, and it's so we'd look at each other and be like, we'd be mad at it, but we'd start laughing, just like, man.
Yeah, a lot of different from some of the conversations that you could get into for sure.
Oh yeah.
But sure. I always liked Sterling. He's like his dad, I guess. Just down to earth, good people, and. But I don't know. It's a sad thing that history in this case doesn't repeat itself. It's there's no more characters anymore. But anyhow, if I may, I'd like to give in a plug for Tri-County Motor Speedway and beautiful downtown Hudson, North Carolina, or outskirts. They say Granite Falls, but when they say where's Hudson at, that's between Sawmills and Road Hiss. So bring you up on your geographic places. But we're having the car series in this weekend in Boo Carlisle's street stock division. And then the following weekend is our wrap-up for our season, the 28th. The Higgins family has done a wonderful, outstanding job with that racetrack. And we're always getting comments on how good it looks. And if you could have seen it when they got it, it was terrible. I mean, the previous owners, they just left a mess. And we finally got 3 and 4 paved, 1 and 2 paved, and this year we got the front and back stretch. But the biggest thing was 3 weeks ago, we got our Musco lighting put in. So it's
that's awesome.
Oh, it's a world of difference. And they flash them around. You know, they got a light show, and then when the modifieds was there and they started out, every other pole or every pole it was in sequence. The lights was flashing, and you know, kind of like a Humpy Wheeler thing when he used to put on the pre-race shows at Charlotte Motor Speedway. But we'd like for everybody to come out and we race every other Saturday. Our Facebook page, it's got a link to our World Wide Web. You can get a season roster of whatever thing's going on. We would like to go bigger and better if we could get car counts up and stuff like that. You know how that goes.
Oh yeah.
But we're hoping for bigger and better things and improvements as we can. But y'all please come out with you in a distance of the Burke, Caldwell, Catawba, Wilkesboro, the Tri-County area for Caldwell, Burton, and Catawba. Come out and see us. You'll even get to see me do my little interviews on pit road, and if I'm in a golf cart, you'll see me trying to get drivers lined up for their starting positions. You know, you still got them drivers, once they get behind the wheel, they kind of forget about where they need to be or whatever. But please come out and see us. We'd love to have you. We got one of the best bologna burgers around. I think it beats South Boston's bologna burger.
How thick is it?
I've had some of that.
It's
stuff.
about that thick. Bryson, ain't it about that thick?
Pretty thick, yeah. It's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Do that again. Sorry, I had to go back on camera. About that thick.
Like yay big.
Yeah. It's like 3/4 inch or something, maybe
like that. And put a slather of mustard on it and some onions, son. I'm telling you what.
I will say, anything you get up there at Tri-County, that food is going to be pretty good.
Caden Higgins, he's one of Shad's sons. He does the cooking for us. And I'm telling you what, that young man, not only can he cut a head of hair, but he can fix a bologna burger too. So.
You should bring us some, and they could sponsor the show. Just give us some free bologna burgers, and we'll talk about it on the whole show.
Let me just
take a bite out of it.
I'll round us up a couple and try to keep them in the refrigerator and warm them up next time.
There you go.
But I don't know how much more time we got.
Well, we're an hour and 45 minutes in the show. I believe it went by that fast.
Wow.
I want to say hey to our good friend Skip Pollock if he's watching. He's Vintage Racing, IMCA Old Timers, Remembering the Past.
That's my brother from another mother. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Yeah, that's my brother from another mother. And we lost our good friend, Dano McGinnis. I carry a picture when I go to these sessions of Gene Hobby, and I got a picture of me and Skip and Dano. And as long as I go to these things, Dano and Gene Hobby will never be forgotten.
Yeah.
Dano was a big part of Skip's family, and I know I can sympathize with him when you lose somebody real close. Yeah. He was like a brother.
Dano was on. He came in on the show too.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah, you could hear him talking in the background. I think I put the camera on him a time or two, but yeah.
Dano was here's something else. They talk a little different than we do. Dan was always asking me where yonder was.
Yonder.
Over yonder.
Yeah.
So I always made fun of how they talk was in Minnesota. Minnesota. So they sent me a shirt that had about 14 O's in the middle of it. It said Minnesota. So I've got that, still got that hanging.
That's funny.
Yeah, Tracy was mentioning.
What I mentioned?
Birthday.
Oh, yeah, Skip's birthday. I hope he had a good birthday.
Yeah, me too. It's about snow shoveling time for.
We gave him a cute present for his birthday.
Yeah, we got pictures to prove it. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I'll show you to you.
Yeah, he told me something about that, I think. Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't say it on air.
Well, no, let's don't. No. But he did have some awful good cinnamon apple pie.
Yeah. Shine.
Branch water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had to take a taste of
water.
it. Man, I'm telling you what.
I did taste it too. It was very smooth. Very, very smooth.
Yes, it was. I can't drink anymore for my health reasons, and of course it's something that I have to do and something I choose to do. But
well, thank you so much for coming in.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you letting me tell my stories and being able to reminisce some stuff. I did get to work a little more with Marty Houston and Tommy Houston. That's where, when I stopped, I was with Marty Houston at Hickory Motor Speedway. We won a limited late model championship, and the next year we went to late model, and they had a 50-lapper back-to-back, and we beat Dennis Setzer not once but twice. The first time was due to a flat tire, but you take them any way you can get them. And that about ended my stuff. I went to work for the state of North Carolina, and my work schedule just didn't fit into stock car racing anymore. But I had a chance to go back with the Higgins, so I became an official. And I did get to work with Jimmy Spencer. I got to know him on a personal basis, helped him around his shop, do some cleanup stuff, and went to Talladega one time. But that about ended my career as far as racing. It just wasn't meant to be. But I thank y'all so much for letting me tell my story. It's not bright, it's not glamorous. I got to meet some very good people along the way. If I may say about Jimmy Spencer, a lot of people think Jimmy is, and he is Mr. Excitement. But in 1993, Jimmy Spencer helped me in a way that I got to save my home. I would have lost it. He gave me a job for doing basically nothing. He owned all the stuff there in the Sharp Curve. Big Daddy's, he owned all them shops and garages in there, right there where Baker Schiff used to be. And I tore out Team 24's 2x4s and walls down because, they'd moved on to bigger shop and everything, but they'd rented a spot there. And if it had been for Jimmy, I would have lost my home. And that's what kind of fella Jimmy Spencer is. He's one outstanding fella. And, the characters that I've been able to meet, the friends I've been able to meet and enjoy. Thank y'all so much for your friendship. Just meeting you at Mount Airy, y'all are at the top of the list, and I appreciate what you do.
Awesome. Thank
appreciate carrying on the legacy. Young man, you keep doing your job, and all of us will be proud of you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that, and I look forward. I'm going to try to make it to Tri-County. I've been down there a couple of times, but
I'll tell you what, all three of you next year come see me, and I'll put you in the air conditioning. How's that
Hey,
sound?
that sounds pretty good.
Come up there, and I'll put you in the air conditioning, and you can have your bologna burger.
Oh, yes.
I'll even buy that. How's that sound?
Does it get much better than that? I don't think so.
Oh, man. Sounds real good.
Well, we've enjoyed it. We've enjoyed listening to you and hearing your stories. And
thank you very much.
Glad you can share that experience with everybody that's listening.
Well, like I say,
and that will listen later on.
Well, I hope so. And like I say, it was just a little scratch, but all them scratches winds up in one big clump every once in a while.
Yeah.
So
yeah, your little scratch is more than some have had.
Yeah, that's true, and I'm very thankful for it. But thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
And thanks everybody for tuning in on the radio and on their DHammiam on YouTube. Make sure you hit that thumbs up if you like. And we will see y'all next Monday. I'm not sure who the guest is going to be yet, but we'll try to get that stuff in order where we can book them a month ahead of time or so.
I'll be missing Monday.
You will? Oh, you'll be out of town. Mm-hmm. That's right. Okay.
Again?
Yeah, again.
This
How about
time
that?
it's work.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Boo, that's bad.
But y'all have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Good night.
Thank you.
Come see what's new for spring at Merle Norman. Our airy color collection features weightless washes of color for eyes and lips. New 97% natural plant-based soft touch shadow glide